Welcome back to Homes Explained, and today we're changing it up a little bit because it's quiz time. I've put together 10 pretty tough questions on residential architecture to test your knowledge. So as you go through, keep a track of your score and let me know in the comments how you get on, and particularly which questions tripped you up. Okay, ready for number one? Here we go. This first image is of a colonial home, but what specific type of colonial is it? Is it an early colonial or a first period colonial, if you want to be technically correct? Is it a Georgian colonial, or is it a colonial revival? Hopefully you said Georgian, and here's how you can tell. So the symmetry is absolutely rigid. There are perfectly balanced windows. There's the centered entry, brick cladding, the tall paired end chimneys, side gabled roof, and the crisp classical detailing around the entry, including the pedimented portico, the pilasters, and the arched fanlight. These are all defining hallmarks of the Georgian period. Even the windows are multi-pane, double hung sash windows in perfect horizontal and vertical alignment. So it's not an early colonial or a first period colonial because they were much plainer. You wouldn't have seen anything close to this level of ornamentation. Their forms were more about function than ornamentation, and they would seem very basic in comparison, nothing like the refined formal composition you see in this image. And it's also not a colonial revival because although they took inspiration from the Georgian and the federal architecture, they were almost always a looser interpretation. Symmetry not quite as balanced, mixed influences, larger windows, and generally a more modern massing, a more modern decorative appearance, more romanticized. They were inspired by history, but not kind of strictly governed by it. So this fine form that you see here is definitely a Georgian. Question 2. Which of these two French phrases, trompe l'œil and l'œil de bœuf, describe the image that you're seeing? The correct answer is trompe l'œil, which literally translates from the French to trick of the eye, and it's a term used to describe a painted illusion designed to make a flat 2D surface appear 3D. Now, a really famous painting is called Escaping Criticism, where it shows a young boy seeming to climb out of the picture frame and enter the real world. And in residential homes, you typically find the trompe l'œil in the dining room, a space used to elevate and impress guests with this incredible painted illusion. The other French term, l'œil de bœuf, literally means eye of the ox, and it refers to a decorative kind of oval or circular shaped window, which is usually placed quite high on a home's facade in like a gable area or above a formal entry, where its curved shape and decorative framing, it often has like a stone hood around it, is used to soften the strict symmetry of a home's elevation. Sometimes these windows can be mistaken as porthole windows, but porthole windows are much more basic, just circular and used in more of a maritime design, whereas these are very French looking and decorative and kind of beautiful ornamental windows. Now, interestingly, both these phrases, l'œil de bœuf and trompe l'œil, are used in their French. There is no neat English translation for them. Question 3. Take a look at this architectural style, which is defined by its boxy square shape and its large central dormer window. But what's it called? Is it the Prairie, the Craftsman, the Tudor Revival, or the American Foursquare? The correct answer is the American Foursquare. These homes are usually 4 rooms over 4 rooms, hence the name Foursquare, with a full front width porch, broad eaves, and very simple, honest detailing. They were actually seen as a practical and efficient alternative to the very ornate Victorian styles which came before them. It was straightforward, balanced, full of kind of 20th century charm. So the other options don't fit the profile. Prairie homes are very wide with a real horizontal emphasis. Craftsman homes have a kind of low-pitched roof and the exposed rafters, and all the craftsman kind of detailing that comes with it. And then Tudor Revival homes have very steeply pitched gable roofs with this signature half timbering. So it's only the American four square that has the kind of unmistakable square massing with the central dormer window combo. Question 4. Is this architectural feature that's being highlighted now a tower or is it a turret? The correct answer is a tower. So a tower is a full-height vertical structure that rises up from the ground and is integrated into the main body of the house. A tower feels substantial, it's quite literally grounded and often contains interior space on multiple floors. By contrast, a turret is much smaller and it projects from an upper level, and sometimes even the roof line. It tends to be decorative and it's used to create a castle-like flourish rather than being a major structural element of the house. Question 5. Which architectural style is this? Is it a bungalow, a ranch, a craftsman, or a Cape Cod? This home is definitely a craftsman, and there are lots of tells. You can tell by the low-pitched gabled roof with wide eaves, the exposed rafter tails, the mix of horizontal siding and shingle accents, the tapered porch columns sat on stone piers, the deep front porch, as well as the arts and crafts windows. They're a very specific window where the top third has that decorative element, all hallmark features of the craftsman architectural style. So there's definitely some overlap and confusion with the other home styles, but bungalows are typically single story, they're much smaller, they're much more compact with a lot less architectural detailing, and a more modest porch. Similarly, ranch homes, typically single story. Ranches are more rectangular in shape, they're longer, more of a horizontal emphasis, and again, minimal ornamentation. And it's not a Cape Cod. Let me say, Cape Cod sometimes do have the roof dormers, but they are far more traditional and symmetrical. You can tell they're part of the colonial family of homes because they have the same alignment of small, modest windows. It's much more symmetrical. So every feature of this house that you're seeing here aligns with the craftsman architectural style. Okay, we're halfway through. How are you getting on so far? If you're finding some of these questions tricky, you may want to check out this book written by me called The Illustrated Guide to Homes. Now, it does say for real estate agents because I am one, but you don't have to be to enjoy this book. That's the only reference to real estate agents in the book. It's actually a beautifully, let me turn it around so you can see, it's a beautifully illustrated guide to all the interior and exterior features that you're going to see with residential homes, with just a little short description for each one. So check it out, available on Amazon, and the link is in the description. Question 6, classical columns and their capitals, but which one is which? So each of these capitals have their own tell. So once you know what it is, it's really easy to identify them going forward. The Doric capitals are probably the most straightforward. They have a simple cushion-like form beneath a square top. There's no ornament, no carving, no scrolling. And then the Tuscans are even plainer than the Doric. They are completely unadorned, with a very clean, minimal profile. No flares, no detailing, no scroll. Again, just extremely simple. The Ionic capital is probably the most easy to identify because it's got the what's called volutes, almost like a ram's horn shape of the very elegant kind of circles on either side. It's very balanced and graceful, and the scrolls certainly make it easy to spot it. Then there is the Corinthian, which has Greek origins, which makes it kind of the most decorative of all the capitals. It has multiple layers of acanthus leaves, kind of all flaring up and flaring out. So it definitely has a very leafy botanical look. And finally, you have the composite capital. Now, whenever I see this one, I always kind of panic a bit and think, oh, which one is it? Because it seems to have a bit of everything. Well, when you think that, it's the composite because it combines the Ionic, the kind of ram's horns, the volutes, and it also has a lot of layering of the acanthus leaves of the Corinthian capital. So the composite combines those two. Question 7. Which architectural style is this? Is it American Classic, Traditional, Victorian Revival, or Suburban Colonial? The correct answer is traditional, and all the other names are actually made up. Hopefully they sound plausible, but they are not recognised architectural styles. However, for me, the name traditional to describe this house is a little bit strange and almost confusing, because it's not a strict revival of any previous architectural style. Instead, it's a bit of a kind of blend. You can see some colonial in there. It's got some modern contemporary elements. It's also got some suburban practicality. You can see some kind of classical hints. It's got the centered front door. It's got very familiar lines. And I think the feature that defines it most is those kind of front facing gables. That's a particularly defined element of the traditional home. But ultimately what defines this style is the mix up of all the different elements. So it is kind of approachable, it's familiar, and it's kind of rooted in other forms without being strictly loyal to any one historical architectural style. Question 8. This maybe is an easy one. Match the correct faucet to its name. A single-handed faucet has one lever that controls both temperature as well as water flow, mounted in a single hole in the countertop usually, while the centre set faucet groups both handles and the spout together on one compact base. It's that kind of plate which identifies the centre set faucet. The bridge faucet has two separate handles connected by a kind of elevated and exposed bridge pipe before joining into one spout. The handles are independent and the plumbing is visible, and this definitely has kind of like a classic vintage vibe. While the waterfall faucet has a wide open spout that allows the water to kind of cascade out like a sheet, almost like a miniature waterfall, and it's very decorative and typically found more in bathrooms than kitchens. Question 9. Name this architectural style where it looks as though the whole house is wrapped in one continuous exterior surface. Is it the Cape Cod, the Craftsman, the Romanesque Revival, or the shingle style? The correct answer is the shingle style. Now, this architectural style is unique because it creates the illusion the entire house is wrapped in one continuous kind of unified skin. Now, although the roof shingles and the siding shingles are made from very different materials, they do blend together visually, partly because the home doesn't have much trim that would break up the look of the materials, but it also employs kind of long sweeping arcs that blend the roof into the walls. So this house has a very kind of soft sculptural appearance, as if it's been draped, and no other architectural style achieves this look. And finally, last question, which Victorian era architectural style is this? Is it the Italianate, the Second Empire, the Queen Anne, or the Gothic Revival? So the correct answer is Gothic Revival, and you can tell by the following features, such as the pointed arches over the windows. And in fact, if there was nothing else, that feature alone is a massive hallmark defining feature of the Gothic Revival. But you also have the steeply pitched roof. Along the roof line and the gable edges, you can see finials along with the decorative verger board, also called barger board. Then there's a tower. It's made of stone. Now, in residential architecture, not all Gothic revivals were made of stone, but it's definitely in keeping with kind of like the medieval vibe of it. So pretty much every feature of this house that you're seeing screams Gothic Revival. Italianates tend to have very wide overhanging eaves and decorative brackets, and although this image has some decorative brackets, it's not all the way round. It's not a major feature. And Italianates also have kind of low pitched or even flat roofs. The Second Empire is defined by the very deep French mansard roof, which this doesn't have. And although the silhouette may look like a Queen Anne, Queen Anne's tend to be a lot more decorative with colour and ornamentation and different projecting bays and towers and all that kind of stuff. Queen Anne's have a lot going on. So this is definitely a Gothic Revival. Well, that concludes my quiz today. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you did well. This was a tough one, so please let me know in the comments how you got on, and particularly which questions tripped you up, because that will help me know what videos I need to do. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week for more Homes Explained.